They're going to be shocked.
Shocked,
And
shocked,
we're
I say.
live. They're going to be so, they're like, what is Tori doing with the rational male? They hate each other.
God.
Drama. Rolo. Okay. The man that doesn't need an introduction.
Yeah.
So I was saying to Rolo that I was watching the whatever podcast yesterday with Andrew Wilson. Chase was on there. He's like the regular kind of. And I guess I saw Andrew made this video talking about his experience after whatever. And he was saying that he was going there to argue with like traditional conservatives, I believe. Maybe I misheard him, but I'm pretty sure, just in case. And it always, I find when people ask me about the red pill, they're always trying to figure out if, like, how do I word this? Like, they think that it's traditionally conservative, and it's really not. It's apolitical, but you can constantly see how women are these undercover feminists, even the trad cons, when they get pressed on their beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
can you touch on like the hypergamous filter? I know you talk about all this stuff. You wrote it in the first book. You wrote it in the fourth book, but I really want to hone in on that hypergamous filter because I see it all the time. I see it in all the women. It doesn't matter if they're red pill or not. They all do it. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I used to, there was a time when I used to talk to Milo Yiannopoulos quite often. And it was before he became Milo and then he became no one. But
wait, really?
Yeah, it was back in like you and I have been friends for like really since like 2013, 2012, something like that.
I like listening
but it was like,
to him.
It was back when he used to write for Breitbart, and he was a personality at Breitbart. And then, the first Trump campaign ran around. But anyways, the long story short, he used to have this. He'd go on his talk tours and stuff. And one of the things he would talk about was like feminism, and that really a lot of the material that he used was like from conversations that we had back in the day. And
that's how it always happens. Everybody steals Rolo's stuff.
Well, I started stealing it. It was just it was just a natural progression of the conversations we have, right? And I thought about it, and I talked to him one time, and I said, you know what? It's kind of like identifying yourself as a feminist today is basically meaningless. Like everyone's a feminist. Like everyone has had some form of feminist influence since, if you were born after like 1965, right? You probably have, through your teachers, through your church, through your mom, through your just popular culture, through whoever. I mean, there's like so many different ways that we don't even think twice about why we believe what we believe. Like nobody, I'm going to use a big $10 word here, but no one questions their epistemology, meaning they don't question how they came to believe what they believe, right? Yeah. So if you think, like, for instance, Pearl goes around talking about, and I don't think she even, this is just her bullshit, but it's like, and the 19, was it women shouldn't vote, right? The fact that rubs people the wrong way means that you have had some sort of feminist influence in your life, right? Yeah, that shouldn't be a radical statement if everyone wasn't in some way influenced by feminist ideology since the 1960s, right? Yeah. So that's usually the starting point that I go when people ask me about like conservatives and feminists. I had that same conversation with Jedediah Bila back in the day, and I said, look,
what happened to her?
Oh, she left Valuetainment. She had a contractual thing, and she didn't want to, like, honestly, I mean, I'm on your show, so I can talk about it. Honestly, I think her contract came up and she didn't want to renew it. And really, the only two shows that Valuetainment has had in the last couple of years have been the ones that I've had influence in, like Adam Sosnick and her show, right? Yeah. And so, if I'm just spitballing here, I talked to her just like on a personal level. Like she would ask me about family stuff.
Really good.
We're just friends. Really We're friends right now. And so she left Florida and she is now in, I believe, New York. And I would very much like to get her to Vegas, but I think she had contractual issues with PBD, and that was just how all the cards shook out. So, but as far as the feminist thing is concerned, I had this conversation with her too. She got really offended by it. I said, conservative
So do
women
I.
are just prettier feminists, right? At least I gave you a compliment. Right? And
Yeah.
she's like, "What do you mean? I'm not a feminist." Blah blah blah. And I think we have this idea that a feminist looks like Lena Dunham, right? That she's got purple or fuchsia hair, and she's like,
Well, I take it
she's
as like an
under
insult.
armpit hair, and it's I don't know, it's crazy.
If somebody calls me a feminist, you're calling me an NPC. That's what I think. I'm like, really? That's brutal.
Yeah,
I don't care if they think that I'm gonna have blue hair or fat. That's the insult. But keep going.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, as far as like Andrew Wilson's concerned, I like Andrew quite a bit, by the way. I'm not going to
Yeah,
say I
so do
would
I.
agree with like everything he has to say,
Yeah,
but
he's good.
he's a good dude. But I mean, we had the last time I had him on the show, we were talking about divorce and marriage with James Sexton, for the divorce attorney guy.
Yeah. I
And
covered.
yeah, so
That was so good. That
it
was
was it was
so
really
fun.
well. It was like I talked to him in the middle of August, and then I had him on Rule Zero, and then he was on. I did a full on panel show after that because it was like people still wanted to continue the conversation, and I had Andrew
Yeah.
Wilson was a part of that conversation, and I think Andrew probably went on whatever podcast expecting more than they were able to deliver. Quite
Well,
honestly, I mean, yeah.
everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but when I think of whatever podcast, I think about just sitting there for a long, long time, hoping to
Mhm.
maybe get a word in. And then if I say something, they're going to tell me how I'm wrong. And then they're going to get a super chat coming in. And then everybody's going to forget about my half point. And then we're going to go to the next thing. And I'm going to be like, hey. And then they're going to say whatever. It's like pretty predictable. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, well, so
It's
when
good when you entertain we're on.
yeah, I thought so too, but it was a completely different conversation though. So like when
Yeah.
what happens, I think and I don't know if this is something Brian is intentionally trying to do, but like I the one thing that is sort of I see the show like developing into is sort of
I'm not
right versus left, or tradcons versus like degenerate leftists. I mean, that kind of stuff. And I
it's
understand why he would want to do that, because I think I'm pretty sure he's like some brand of Christian. He's always got
he's an
his buddy
MRA
there.
for sure.
Yeah, well, he's always got his friend there, um, who I forget the guy's name, but he's the constant one. He's almost like his co-host at this point. But the guy's there.
Chase.
It's very. So what happens is the show is morphed into what used to be kind of like a panel show of, a la Fresh and Fit. But now we're going to invite Lila Rose on. We're going to have and Destiny on so that they can fight, right? And
Yeah.
then we're going to have Michael Knowles on. And then all Michael Knowles, his only purpose for
Candace
being there was to
Owens.
just, Candace Owens was on. All they're there to do is just wag
Yeah.
a finger at the girls on the other side. And I'll tell you what's funny is the same format that all of these people used to complain about with Fresh and Fit. They would say, like, you're just there to dress these girls down
Body farm or
and
something.
berate them and everything. And I'm like, and now you're doing exactly the same thing in a format that you think is safer, and you're just basically doing the same shit that you were complaining about these guys not even like a year ago, and now
Yeah.
you're participating in that because you can go out there with a Bible and do it, and you can shake your finger at it. And the same thing with like Michael Knowles went on there, did the same shit. And I think probably they why someone of the caliber of Candace Owens or Michael Knowles, who would go all the way up to Santa Barbara. And no, I know I've been to the studio and I know what it looks like, right? And it ain't no Daily Wire, and it ain't no Blaze or anything like that. It's like not a very nice apartment, but it's done up to be a podcast studio. But why they would go there, like what would be the end game for something like that? And I think really what it is it's just it's this want to finger wag with the Bible thump these girls. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do Fresh and Fit, but then we get some really religious guys on one side, and then they go there and then they tell all these girls that they're not living right, and I'm like, that's pretty much the same thing.
I
So
think
like
you
when
give them way
my
too much credit.
but Yeah. Well, when Andrew Wilson went on there, and I don't know because I haven't talked to him since then. And I know Andrew is in Reno right now, and I'm in Vegas, but I'll probably try to see him this weekend. Um, but if I see him, I'm going to ask him like what his experience was. But I think it's funny because Andrew's there trying to make like these really cogent points. Like he's really trying. Like
Oh,
from what I gathered from. I mean, it's very long. It's like
he was,
6 fucking hours.
he
But
was really charitable. And he really
oh
broke
yeah.
down a lot of their beliefs
Mhm,
that I was like, how did you get that from there? But it was correct. I was like, whoa, he really like broke it down for them. It was funny, but
mhm,
it was interesting. But then it would get cut off like every
mhm.
other time. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. I think that like because I kind of get Andrew a little bit better than I used to after we had those conversations with Jim Sexton. He's very well thought out. He's very intelligent. I think he probably expected more than he got from whatever podcast. But he goes on there, and I think that I've made the same. I've been guilty of the same mistake. Right? You go on there on a show thinking it's going to be one way, and then you're like, oh, okay, I understand where we're at now. And you kind of change. You have to shift gears a little bit, but like you're not going to you're not going to tell these girls that they're living the wrong way by showing them stats and numbers and everything else. It's
Yeah.
like you're not going to reason them into like changing their, getting off of OnlyFans or whatever the
Hell
fuck they're
no.
doing. But as far as the like coming up with, it's almost like I don't say shame. It certainly wasn't on Andrew's part, but like I can see that with a Candace Owens, the rest of them. But it's almost like you're expecting there to be this epiphany or there's some sort of um, I don't
Aha.
know. Yeah, aha moment. Exactly. Like, and that it's never going to come because that's not what the show's about. And I kind of think like a lot of people probably in the chat were like, when are we going to start talking about how to get our dicks wet or something like that? And it's like, it was like it was too cerebral for like the girls to really kind of figure out for themselves. And
I,
then,
yeah.
but he's giving them the benefit of the doubt in the hopes that they will. Just at that point never come.
Some of them did. Some of them had
Mm,
a good back and forth and were berated for it. It was kind of shocking.
mm.
There,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
You'll see.
but see, it's a new play on indignation. And
Oh, for
that's
sure.
really well, I mean, if you look at even Kevin Samuels, the reason why Kevin Samuels like was a come up
Same
was
thing.
because he was, your average at best, right? That
That
was
was
the
him.
indignation. That was shocking back then. Remember when that was shocking?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now you've got it's like this. There's always this escalation in influencer slash podcasting, and I mean, I just try to stick to nuts and bolts. I mean, I still do Access Vegas with Mike, obviously, but like we still try to have at least like raise the level of conversation. But that's not what people want, man. They want
No,
they
they
want
keep
fights. They
asking.
want Frank Castle. They want somebody to storm off. They want like Zerka fighting HS Tiki Taki or some shit like that. And
Yeah.
that's going to put eyes on the screen and probably money in your pocket, but it really doesn't raise the discourse.
A lot of people will still super chat like $200 to be like, have them rate themselves. I'm like, doesn't this get old? Like, aren't like she's gonna
Never,
say she's a 10 because of
never does.
confidence. Like, I think it's
Mm,
annoying. It's so predictable. You just predict it. I don't know.
mhm.
Maybe that's how men feel, just in general. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, and then so they get off on like you got to remember that this is still generation TLDR and or ADHD, I guess. And they
Easy.
still want that instant dopamine hit. It's like gambling addiction is what it is.
Oh,
You
for
want to
yeah,
pull the slot machine arm and hopefully you're going to get a prize kind of thing. It's operant conditioning is what it is. And so they go to a show like that, or they'll go to whatever podcast thinking, oh man, this is going to be great. 6 hours of Andrew Wilson dressing these girls down. And then, after the first hit, you're like, okay, what else?
no,
You
he
know,
brought the entertainment. He brought the
yeah.
entertainment. Otherwise, it was
Mm,
boring to me. He brought the heat. He always brings the
yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
But I
thought it,
mean,
yeah.
you can only say you ain't living your life right so many ways.
No, Rolo, I'm telling you, wait until you watch
Mhm,
it. He wasn't even berating them. Like, you know how
mhm,
it's always going to come out like, don't you think that's wrong or whatever they're doing. but it was about Christianity wearing a bikini and working at the coffee place. And like they were pressing her and he was just like, that doesn't line up. I forget what he said, but they broke it down and the girls even pushed her on it. They're like, no, like it's still objectifying yourself, whatever. But okay, there was a quote.
We're getting to that. Hold that thought. We're getting to the Overton window that Mike Sartain talks about all the time, which is, well, like right now, I forget the chick who was the OnlyFans girl who was running for office, like maybe state office or something like that. Christian conservative Republican, but she's got an OnlyFans, and she's like, what's the big deal? And she could run because she had enough money that she was making off of OnlyFans, so she could actually support the campaign.
Right.
And Mike was talking about this. He said it's just a matter of time. We will have the first like OnlyFans congresswoman or OnlyFans senator, as a result, because people won't care after a while.
But then it's like, how are we going to then make fun of those figures? You know how like throughout history it would be like, look at the scandal. If they don't care they're doing OnlyFans, what? They're going to have to like, I won't even say it on here, like actually do some shit. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's funny that we want to, like a sitting senator or a congressman or like a Supreme Court justice or whatever, if it's a man and he has a sex scandal, like that's going to disqualify him from office. But if a woman has an own, that could be it. Well, or like Clarence Thomas, right? For instance. Yeah. Or what's the other guy? I forget the guy, the Me Too guy. What the fuck? Forget it. Anyways, like you won't get. They didn't want to confirm. What's his face? I forget the guy who's just one of the Supreme Court justices. Their name escapes me right now. But that was an issue. But the OnlyFans girl who was and by the way, she only lost by like maybe 2%. Like she was this close to actually winning. And it would have been the first. It would have been the first OnlyFans, I don't know, congresswoman or some shit like that. Who even knows? But the thing is there's a separate standard of Kavanaugh. Sorry, Brett Kavanaugh. There's a separate standard of justice or a separate standard that guys have to live up to that apparently women are not going to have to live up to in the future. Sorry, I messed you up.
No, it goes right into it. I was like, where did you say this? And then I found it. But you talk about a father is anyone a woman or mother claims he is. A father is legally bound to children he didn't sire. A father is prevented at great legal and social effort from access to DNA testing of children he suspects aren't his. A father is legally responsible for the children resulting from his wife or girlfriend's cuckolding him. And a father is financially obligated to the support of children that he didn't sire or had no power in deciding to sire. And then you said these aren't just examples relating to men's lack of power in parenting. These are examples of determining the degree of control a man can exercise over the direction of his entire life. And that goes with what you were just saying, like how we hold the men and the women to different standards, but men, it's like, I feel like men are super oppressed. That's the worst word. Like, there's got to be a better word for this because I can't say the S word. You know what I mean?
Well, oppressed is one thing. It's another thing to like. Here's the real kind. I don't say sinister. Here's the real like downside to all this is that like men expect that. Like that's standard. Like they believe that, yeah, of course we got a masculine duty to do all this. Yeah, we have to put up and shut up. It's our duty to suffer. It's our duty to sacrifice.
Like the men that get vasectomies and their girlfriend like jokes about it and they post it, like with the, what did you call that?
Selective breeding. Yeah, you've been reading selective breeding. Yeah, I thought it was funny because like when I did my infamous like vasectomy tweet, honestly, that was really just me trying to like go over the top, right? It was me trying to be so over the top, like because me, that's why nobody else. But it was I was pointing out the fact that like if you want to get to as the fast track to being as valuable as you possibly can and like maximizing your potential, there are always going to be sacrifices that you're going to have to make. So if you want to be a high value guy as quickly as possible, it's there. The sacrifices you're going to have to make are family, marriage, preferably, like I said, I threw in vasectomy in there because you don't want to get locked down with a pregnancy, but where it's like, you don't want to get, and so that would count, stay in shape and be on your game. Like nobody, what's funny is everybody fixated on vasectomy. It's like, there's like it was a seven item list. And it was like, everybody, like there were 6 other items. Nobody has anything to say about that shit, right?
Well, the vasectomy touches on the like autonomy kind of. I think that's why it was so contentious, because it's
it was content. Yeah, well, it is, but it was contentious because it goes
women
against
lose
this
the control.
Well, they do, but yeah, I'll tell you the other thing is it goes against this "Save the West, we need more babies" narrative. That's what rubbed everybody. That's why I got Matt Walsh, Jeremy Boring, I got Ben Shapiro, I got Lauren Chen, I got everyone. Still to this day, I have people still coming out of the woodwork. And what's funny is they took that and they ran with it. And so I've got this meme that's like the telephone game, like where one kid says one thing and then it goes down the line of kids until the last kid gets a message that's completely different. Well, we're at the point right now where it's like they read the tweet and then the last kid in line thinks that the red pill is about like, gender affirming surgery and we're all for like, hormone therapy for trans kids. I'm like, what the fuck? Where the hell did that come from? But that's just, it's the slippery slope. The slippery slope amongst trad-cons is very, very real.
Well, they apply their value calls to it. I read that tweet and I didn't even think twice. I didn't apply a moral belief to it. I was just like, oh, that's good, because it's highlighting all the different areas where men have like a chokehold or women have a chokehold on men, in my opinion. And it's kind of exposing it. I didn't even think like, oh, darn it, if a man gets a vasectomy, he can't reverse. Like, I didn't say that, but like all the trad cons, it seemed like you could, if you really wanted to figure out who was a grifter, you could determine it based off of how they reacted to that tweet. 100%.
They loved it, man. It was if it's a slow news cycle, they'll take anything that seems like over the top and they'll run with it. And so what's funny is you got that. Jedediah Bila got that too. She goes, "You're being facetious, aren't you?" I go, "Yes, of course I am." But the thing is that everyone wants to take it deathly ass seriously because it provides them content to say, "Look at these red pill guys. They're all about vasectomy."
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
They're like, look at how macho we are. Like, we're the real men that women, like, they actually believe that shit when the women are like, a real man would have my babies. It's like, okay, bitch.
That's also funny is like that tweet was a reply. It was a response to one of Richard Reeves's.
No way.
Nobody looked at that. No way. They thought it was just this standalone tweet. It was actually a response. Like I was retweeting what he was posting.
Wait, were you guys
completely out of context. What?
Wait, were you guys fighting? Is that why you guys had that show? Richard Reeves?
Richard Reeves? No. Richard Reeves was on he was on Dr. Phil with me. And by the way, I'm the one that suggested to the producers that they get him too. I don't have a problem with him. I just think that he's like once again, it's a guy who understands. He can diagnose the problem. It's what he prescribes as the cure is like liberal lefty bullshit, right? It's social constructionism. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
I think it's. I don't think he. What people should get, or the takeaway from that is, are you sure you're familiar with Louise Perry and Richard Reeves? Yes. These are like dyed in the wool leftist, liberal, progressive wokesies, right?
Yeah.
And even they can't deny that men are in tough shape, like you were just saying before. Like, how do you talk about stuff like that without it seeming like, well, guys are crying victim, guys are complaining, and they should never complain because they run the world and it's a patriarchy, and we're still hanging on to all these memes from Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan from 1970, right?
I know.
It's like, no, it's like, come on, man. Can we have a discussion? We can't even have the discussion about it right now. And I can't have that. I can't even have the exchange with Richard Reeves. It sucks from both sides, really. I can't have that exchange without my audience or Myron's audience saying, "You should have punched him in the fucking face. We want blood," And then
say you're conspiratorial. I feel like that's what Richard Reeves would say.
And then the leftist side is like, well, the cure to it is we need to get boys into therapy, and we need them to have like emotional training, and we need to make sure that toxic masculinity isn't taught. And it's like, it's the same bullshit solutions, but at least they are acknowledging the fucking problems now. Like suicide rate being like 3.5 to 5 times of women. That's unignorable. They can't ignore it. So now it's like new material for them to write a book and start a council and do TED Talks and all this other bullshit. Nothing will get done in the end. Nothing will happen. But at the very least, they're acknowledging it enough. And I will say this: Richard Reeves at least had the balls to come on Access Vegas. So
yeah, he did, and I thought it was interesting. Yeah, you guys disagreed, but it was well, like you guys had a good back and forth. But can you explain why Red Pill doesn't give prescriptions and why everybody always assumes it does and says that Fresh and Fit are crazy, Sneeko is crazy, and all these people that are random?
Yeah, well, so the main purpose is, as you know, the red pill in its idealized, most purest form is just a praxeology of intersexual dynamics. That's it. Nothing else. Objective truth. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else attached to it. No morality, no religion, no ideology, no politics, no nothing. All it is objective. It's at least an effort in objective understanding, a praxeology of the objective truth of intersexual dynamics. Right? It is like I don't know if that's actually right in the cap, but it's the Chilton manual of human nature, essentially, is what it is. Or if it's not, and I'm not saying it's like a complete Chilton manual. We're still like, there's still parts of chapters that we're missing, and we gotta figure out. But it provides what's known as a predictive framework, so that you can use the information, actionable information, right? So in its purest sense, the red pill should simply be information that you can use to better your life. The problem is like when you give people just straight up information, they can't take like data sets and stats and information without you telling them what to feel about it. Yeah, what to do with it, how to feel about it. Because even just you giving them the information, they'll be like, I could give you this textbook, right? And they'll be like, why are you giving me this textbook? Do you think I need this textbook?
Should I put it on top of my head?
Yeah, right. Well, this is a textbook on, do you really think I need to read this? Why do you think that? Do you think I'm living wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Like it gets a slippery slope, right? Yeah. And so you can't just give people information without telling them how to feel about it, because if you don't, they will hate you for it. Yeah. They don't care about objective truth. They care about whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. Are you on my team or are you on the opposite team?
It's so
they
crazy.
don't care. They don't care about nuance. They don't care about data. They don't care about
But then they call us the ones that aren't nuanced.
They don't have the time. Well, they don't have the time. I mean, considering that you can't fit that into a 45-second TikTok dancing video,
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people, like, there's no elevator pitch for the red pill. There's it's like a college course. You have to know so much, and there's so much. Like I'm still a student too. I mean, even me, I'm still a student at this shit. I'm still learning stuff every day, right? But the fact is you can't even have the conversation without. I mean, even like people who are for you or against you, even the people who are having conversations that are for you, it's difficult because there'll be people who will like want to come in and shit all over your chessboard, right? They want to just fuck things up, and so it's becoming more and more difficult to have those. You want to know why Andrew Wilson going on whatever podcast? It was funny. It was entertaining. I think he was hoping it was going to be informational, but it was more entertaining than it was actually informational. And so, it's, but the problem is that if you just have the red pill as a core set of data, Chilton manual, textbook, just information to educate and to equip. That's what I say. Like you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I'll just repeat it again. It's like, I'm not in the business of making men better men. I'm in the business of giving men and providing men with the actionable information, equipment, education, so they can take that and make themselves better men. I'm not looking for a cult. I'm not a guru. I don't want Tomasi men out there. I'm a rational male, man. I don't do not do that. Okay. I want you to be your own dude, and I want you to show me what you built with the information that you got out of my books, or you got from this conversations in general, right? And that, to me, it means more than having a silver plaque on my wall for 100,000 subs on YouTube. I mean, I'll take it, but like, I would rather people hit me up and say, dude, I was here and now I'm here because I read the book, and now I'm living a better life. I crafted a better life for myself because of this information. I took this information and I used it actionably. Great. That's what it should be. The problem is then you got people who want to commercialize it and turn it into a program like 12 rules for life, or 7 tips that'll help you get laid.
A hero's journey shit.
Yeah. These bitches ain't living right. They're average at best, right? And so there's what they're selling. Like, if you look at MGTOW, if you look at Black Pill, if you look at White Pill, if you look at Tradcons, if you look at Black Pill Doomers, MRAs, you look at like Ortho Bros, even Passport Bros. Like, you look at all of these little sub factions. I know. I should make a big chart on my a big old like flow chart. Yeah. All of those are prescriptions. The only one amongst those that isn't a prescription is the red pill. So when people, like, for instance, when Myron says you should fuck 50 women before you like start considering getting into a relationship, or like, that's a prescription. Like, if that's the case, like, my notch count's like 41, so I guess I failed. But like, the thing is like, it's just he's saying, it's just a rule of thumb. It's not like it's just meant to, so you get your head in the right space. But the thing is people will take that and they'll go, oh man, really? I got to do that. And then they'll put that on their list of things they do, so that they can achieve the certificate of being red pill, right? And so, because you don't tell people how to feel about things, they will take it upon themselves to insert what they think you meant. So you've got so that's how you get the Sneakos. That's how you get Tate. That's how you get, people who dogmatically want to like and maybe with the best of intents want to rebroadcast this stuff. And then what happens is then people who are against the red pill, or it goes against their belief set, then what they do is it's like that telephone game once again. It's like they'll take one little snippet out of a 45-second clip from Fresh and Fit or my show or Kevin Samuels or Access Vegas, whatever podcast. They'll take one little part of that and they'll go, oh, those red pill guys always say this. No, we fucking don't. And you don't know what you're talking about, but it's still good content. It's good content for you because you're taking what you think is a prescription. I am sick to fucking death of hearing people saying the red pill movement. No, there ain't no fucking movement in the red pill.
Or ideology.
Those guys, their philosophy is no, there ain't no fucking philosophy. No fucking philosophy. Those red pill guys always preach. No, there's no preaching. No, don't put it into a religious belief set.
Is the head of it. You're a cult
I'm the grand.
leader.
I'm the grand poobah of it. Yeah. Or teach. You guys always teach this. No. And the thing is, it's like anytime I get that from anyone, I go, who are you talking about? Who are the red pill guys? Like those red pill guys. Fucking who? Who are you fucking talking about?
Fresh and Fit, if you watch their stuff, they're on point. They make it clear when they're talking about their prescriptions, and then like that's not red pill if somebody says it is. Like Myron's really good about it. But just to clarify for people that are stupid, but a Chilton manual is kind of like it's gonna tell you what kind of parts go to where in the car. So like this is the type of wheel that best fits this model. This is the best. So when people
everything, so you can actually take a Chilton manual, and if you could buy all the parts that are in a Chilton manual, you can build a 1968 VW Bug, right? Or whatever it is that you have.
Hold on, you cut me off. Okay. So when people are applying their own belief sets to like a Chilton manual, is it equivalent to saying like getting a Chilton manual for all of the cars and they tell you to look for this tire size, and then because it said one size and you have a Mercedes, I'ma just try for that one? Like, well, how would you explain like the belief set part with the Chilton manual for all the
So
dummies.
it's very easy, very easy. This is, and Ryan's gonna shoot me for this.
Hi, Ryan.
so we should really have Ryan on this conversation.
I know. Send him the link.
Okay, so the Chilton manual just tells you, here's the part number, here's where it goes, here's the assembly, this goes in here. Now you've got this other part, this part goes over here, right? And then so it's like part by part by part by part by part until you have a VW bug, right? Or whatever it is you're building, whatever car you build. It doesn't tell you how to drive the car. It doesn't tell you this is the best gasoline to put in this car. It doesn't tell you only do 75 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone. It doesn't tell you what best practices are.
But you know what does? The car forums on Google where all the guys get together and they share their experience on how to fix this part on the car when some part is I don't know.
So remember when I
floppy notes, Rollo.
Yeah. Well, here's a better, like, so when people complain about like my work, or they complain about like the fact that they complain about that I'm all theory, right? Oh, Rollo's all theory. He doesn't have any receipts. Well, God damn it, I do have quite a few receipts. Thank you very much. Still creating receipts today. But the thing is that it breaks down a basic.
Who's the one?
Well, it breaks down the difference between theory and practice. Okay, so I always say the red pill is the theory and game is the practice, right? You have to have hypothesis and experimentation.
But no one's doing game right now, so they're hyper focused on the theory.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But the long and the short of it is that's the scientific process, really. It's hypothesis. Is this true? Let's go and test it. Let's experiment. We go out in the field. We do the practice. We take the data and we go, okay, this is what we got right. This is what we got wrong. Let's adjust the hypothesis and let's go out and do it again, right? Trial and error. Let's see if this actually measures up against what we expected to find, right? Yeah. That's essentially the same thing. So the hypothesis, the theory side, that's red pill. Okay, that's the objective. Here's the Chilton manual. Okay, well, what's the best way to use all of this? How do we drive the car? How do we do it? Well, the problem is, watch what's the problem. The way it's intended, ideally, theory informs practice. Practice, then whatever you get the data from the practice, and that informs the theory again. And it's like this until you arrive at something that's a predictive framework, and you say, okay, now we can work with this. So it's theory and practice. The problem is there's always the separation between the two now. So everybody who's like giving the red pill shit, they're all about the practice. They think that well, you'll notice that every time they have a problem with the red pill, it's those guys always advise this. Those guys always teach this. Those guys always preach. All that is best practices. All it is practices. They don't understand how the logic came to make those practices in the first place. They don't understand the theory or the hypothesis behind the practice. So there's a separation between the two.
I have a good example. Okay, Rollo. I don't know why we haven't used this before, but it almost seems like, do you work on cars? Ever?
Quite a bit. Okay. Yeah, so, actually, two of them now.
So like, if I hear a noise I haven't heard before, I'll call one of my friends who works on cars and be like, hey, my car's making this noise. What do you think it is? And we're like trying to figure out how to diagnose it. And it's like, oh, go look at the fuse. So you go under the hood, the fuses are fine. And then you're like, okay, well, where else should I look? And they're like, look at this. And it's almost like game is that. Game is like diagnosing your car at home before you bring it to the shop. No? I don't know. Maybe I'm too autistic with this shit.
Yeah. Like, well, no, not necessarily. I mean, like
think about it.
So when I was saying like when I was telling you like MRAs, MGTOWs, black pill, white pill, whatever, purple pill, whatever fucking pill, right? All of those are practices, and those practices are like when we talk about like what should we do with this? Like when I say here's the information, here's the actual information. I want to see what you do with it. It's up to the individual to create the best practices for themselves. Okay. Right. So what they have to do is, so there's the theory. I mean, if you think like most religion is based on really best practices.
It's the
So
same thing.
so no premarital sex, no prearranged marriages, the 10 Commandments, right? All of that stuff is best practices. So these are what you ought to do, right?
Right, but
Whereas if we go and
Christianity, yeah.
but
Go ahead.
you never go, but they never go back and say, okay, well, why would this be a good idea? Well, I mean, maybe it's a good thing that you're not coveting your neighbor's wife, right? Okay, good. There's a function. There's actually a latent purpose to that. But the practice is just like, don't do it, right? Because God said, right? But there's actually a function to that practice. That's the difference that I'm seeing right now between like the guys who like understand the red pill and the people who want to turn the red pill into a belief set, because that's the only way they can attack it. They can't understand it from the position of objective, factual absolutism, objective truth. They can't
Moral
fight it. They can't say these guys are fucking right, but they know that they're right, but they're evil for telling us they're wrong because they didn't tell us how to feel about it.
They're always like, red pill gets descriptors right, but the prescription, I'm like, we don't give prescriptions. That's the problem. And they're like, well, what do you say about all the big popular creators? What do you have to say for that? I'm like, why do I have to defend popular creators on, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why is that what you're asking me? Why is that my responsibility? Gotta refute bullshit a lot.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point right now. Well, no, but so like I don't know if you saw any of the Dr. Phil show that I did.
Yeah, Rollo, what are you talking about? Yes.
Well, within the first 5 minutes of me being on that show, I knew I kind of anticipated.
You were the bad guy.
That's what they want. They wanted the devil, and I gave it. I even wore my Lucifer Morningstar outfit for that one. But no, what they wanted was they wanted a proxy for Andrew Tate. They really wanted Andrew, because the first thing they asked me, like the producer said, can you get Andrew Tate? And I go, no, because he won't set foot in the United States. And then they said, okay, well, can you talk? Because I still have him I had him on my text at that. They said, can you talk to him and see if he'll do a live remote, like via Zoom? They really wanted him on there. And he refused because he was in Dubai and he was just converted to Islam, and he didn't want to do anything like that would like sort of ruin his, his.
I thought he didn't want to come back to the U.S. because he has a warrant out.
Well, I do know that he has always been hesitant to come to the U.S. for his own reasons, but that is all like since 2018, he would rarely set foot in the U.S. So,
like at last check, that's why.
The last time he was in the United States, what's funny is I was with him the last time he was in the United States.
I remember
which was in December of 2021, and that was the last time he was in the U.S.
And you were wearing a suit. That was very.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, you guys were all dressed to the nines.
Yeah, I knew I was getting into. Yeah, it was me, Sterling, Justin Waller, and Andrew Tate. That was a good.
Wasn't it Tristan too?
Tristan was there. He was there in the studio. He wasn't on the show though.
And then it was also oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Jay Waller, Justin.
Yeah, he was on. Yeah, Jay was on with us. Yeah. Okay. Justin was there. Yeah. So, but that's the last time he was there. And so when I was on Dr. Phil, I knew what they wanted. They really wanted. I was just the understudy for like Andrew Tate. If they couldn't get Andrew Tate, they were going to get me. Right.
You should have been crazy. It would have been fun.
That's what they wanted. They wanted frothing at the mouth. They wanted to be able. That's why they brought that kid Ben on first, is they wanted to till the fields, right? They wanted to set the stage and say, this is what these idiots are really about. And it's like, I had no idea that they. By the way, his name is Ben. I know. I felt bad for him. I'm like, how dare you fucking run this guy who clearly has autism, or he's on the spectrum, right? Like, you're going to run this guy? He doesn't even know that they're goofing on him. And I was pissed. Yeah. It's like, why are you fucking like this? So that's what you guys are about? But there was a point in the discussion, and this is on the show, so I'm not selling anybody out here. They asked me, like, oh, so Rollo Tomassi, you're the godfather of the red pill. And you say that like all the stuff that Tate and these other people, these red pill guys say is like a derivative of your work. And I say, yes. But I said also, that's on them and that's not on me. So what they did, and they took what they did with that work, that's really their own creation. I said, I'm not here to be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which is exactly what they wanted me to be. And I think actually I probably defended Tate pretty well, just because, just through the course of action. But the thing is they wanted me to be a proxy for Andrew. And I told him, I'm not going to do that. He can go clean up his own mess. So when people want to point to, like, this is what the red pill's really about, it's about, human trafficking, it's about this, it's about that. I'm like, I'm the one that they come back to and say, are you on board with this? Do you agree with this? And I'm like, you're going to have to go talk to the people who are telling you what best practices you should follow, because those words have never come out of my mouth, right? Like you need to have 50 lays before you can, like,
Byron,
that's them, not me, right? Or I love that this got passed around quite a bit, like in 2021 and 2022 when Kevin Samuels was around. High value men deserve to cheat. They should cheat. Do you get that? Should cheat. And so what do they do? Rollo, why do you say high value men should cheat? I'm like, I never fucking said that in my life.
Kind of like your tweet. It was taken like your tweet was taken. Same thing, like the vasectomy thing. Like it was said to prove a point that wasn't the point that you would think it is. I guess that's kind of alluded. But Rollo, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, with how crazy people would spin everything that you do, what would you change? Do you ever think about it? Like, God damn it, I wish I would have put out like a disclaimer on everything in my website.
Well, that's funny you should say that, because like what I'm working on right now is my next book. Like the Rational Male series is done, but I'm working on my next book that'll come out in 2024 is a book of maxims. And what those maxims are is they're phrases and things that we say in the manosphere and the red pill, like, she's not yours, it's just your turn. Like, that's a maxim, right?
Explain.
Or women, exactly. So simple minds can wrap their heads around it, right? Or like, women break rules for alphas and make rules for betas. Why do they say those guys are idiots? What the fuck would say that? Right. Well, here's how we came to that pithy little saying, right? Yeah. And so there needs to be that, and you know why? Because I'm sick and fucking tired of cleaning up everybody's mess when they shit the fucking bed.
Yeah.
Like, no, here's a book, go read it. And not that I expect anybody to read it, but I'm writing it from the simplistic a way as I possibly can, just so that there's no confusion. So when Sneeko and Destiny go, Rollo doesn't know what a high value man is. It's like, no, I do. It's a guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. But do we going to just give you the info about the bumper sticker, or do you want to actually talk about why we say that? No, they just want to fuck.
If you would have given any sort of a high value man makes over $1 million, that would go against everything in the red pill, in the Chilton manual, because it's subjective to every guy you ask. And they're like, oh, so you have these definitions based on subjective shit. And you're like, yes. And so they thought that you were avoiding the question by saying it's whatever you want to say, but you weren't. It's literally different for everybody.
Well, it's contextualized. And I tried to make this as plain as I possibly could. But again, they want a bumper sticker. So if I say, look, a high value guy in Brickell in Miami, that guy is going to be categorically different than the guy who is like the leader of his fishing village on the coast of Chile. And he's the guy that happens to have a pickup truck and nobody else does, right? He's a high value guy. He's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck, by context, by condition, by environment, by, just luck of the fucking draw, right? He's not high value at all in Brickell, but he still follows the same like principles within the context of where he is and what he's doing. But you don't get that because people want to hear, because they want lists. They want, he's got to have $100,000 in a bank, and he's got to be dominant, and he's got to have this, and they go through the list of esoteric things, right? But they want a list. They want something quantifiable. And you know why? Because again, give them data and you don't tell them how to feel about it, then they will eat you alive, because they want you to tell them how to live. They want 12 rules for life. I got to follow these. I'm only at level 9. How do I get to 12?
And then it's easy for content creators with a different image from you, or
Mhm.
maybe a similar one, but different prescriptions on their end, trad cons, for instance. It's a way for them to create content by saying,
Mhm.
this is wrong, that like it's double the amount of criticism, I guess. Like, wait, so what would you do
Mhm.
differently? How would you avoid it? I don't think you could have.
Oh, I can't. There's no way.
Because
And
in the
it's only
forums,
getting more. It's only getting more complex. That's why.
well, in the forums, if for those that don't know, in like the Red Pill subreddit, if you said some fucking autistic shit, they would ban you, wouldn't they? Now it's like you can't
Mhm.
really ban people who make YouTube videos. You can't tell them,
I'll
you
tell
know.
you what. You want to know what the height of irony is? Is that you can go and find like Reddit subreddits, like the DC, like the Destiny's fucking cultists. They can, or Nick Fuentes or whoever. They can go on Reddit and they can, or wherever they congregate. Nobody says jack shit, but the red pill Reddit had to be quarantined and then killed off over the course of like 3 or 4 years. It is
Yeah,
completely dead. And so, I mean, I hate to say this is an accomplishment. It's not really an accomplishment, but the thing is that's how bad people don't want you to have this information. That's how bad they don't want that conversation to take place. That's how
they,
bad
yeah,
they don't want men collecting together. It's okay if you get together and you talk about Israel and Hamas, right? It's okay if you go and you talk about whatever bullshit's coming out of Destiny's mouth. It's okay if you do all that, but it's not okay for men to congregate, get together, and have conversations about intersexual dynamics. That's not okay. That should tell you something about those individuals
yeah.
that they're approved of, but the red pill is
The
that
only way
subreddit died.
The only way that I think Red Pill could get anywhere was if men somehow miraculously, which it'll never happen, but if men somehow became a protected class like women are.
Yeah.
Because because
No, you know
literally
what's funny? That's
I
true.
I had an
Mhm.
epiphany about this shit because I was like, if you break it down, I'll let you finish, but
Mhm.
it was like the reason they can quarantine the subreddit or whatever is because it's hate speech against a protected class. That's what they
Yep.
claim, I'm assuming, which is the feminists.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Mhm.
how would we get men to be a protected class? But go ahead.
You
Sorry.
won't. It'll never. In fact, they're the
Yeah,
only unprotected class there is. Now, I think I know where you're getting this because I took the similar. I had to do the retraining myself.
we think
So
the same.
no, well, no. So here's the thing: is I got a notification by YouTube because I have
Mhm.
one strike. I had one strike
Me
on my
too.
channel. It
Yeah,
was a
me too.
warning, and they
Yeah.
say you could remove this if you take our re-educate our hate
Oh
speech
yeah.
re-education
The
program.
Jordan
Right?
Peterson shit.
It's like you got to choose the right answer, right? And it's like, and then
Yeah.
if you choose the wrong answer, it'll tell you why you're wrong, and then you choose the right answer, and it'll tell you why you're right. Okay.
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, if there's a hate speech strike, it's because of a protected class, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, so you talked about
That's fine.
it doesn't. It could be American Indians, it could be Hispanics, it could be blacks, it could be anyone
Yeah.
except for men, especially white men. It can't be that. They're not a protected class. There
Yeah.
was a thing is like, so like you say anything that is in any way um,
Against
against
them.
a protected class of people, that's going to get you a hate strike. That's good to know, by the way, because at least now I know what the rules are, so I can just like
Right.
steer clear of that, but like or skirt the edge of it, as best I can. Um, but but determining what is a protected class is like next to fucking impossible, right? So are women a protected class? Okay, well if women are, is it black
Easy.
women or are white women also a protected class? And
Yeah.
then so you just start splitting hairs after a
Well,
while.
that's what they
There's
call.
there's one class that isn't protected, and I think we know who that is.
I know. I was thinking. I was
I
like,
passed
yes,
the test, by the way. I passed the test, and like hopefully I'll get rid of that
yeah,
strike.
same. I have
Yes.
the same
Mhm.
strike. And I
Mhm.
messaged Myron because the reason I got a strike was because of uh
Mhm.
how do I them boys, but it was in regards to
Elves.
that the September thing. I was
Mhm.
reacting to one of their videos actually, and when the whole thing about them boys was going on, I was like, "Hey, just
Mhm.
so you know, like I've had this strike on my channel for over a year and a half now, and it really bombed my channel. Like, careful.
Mhm.
I'm surprised they didn't get in trouble for it."
Well, Pearl just got demonetized as of today.
What?
So
Really?
she just put out a post for it. So Which surprised, which kind of surprised. It surprised me. It took them so long to demonetize her, quite honestly, because that's one, but like just the people she rubs elbows with, there must have been something. And she's saying, "Oh, I got it. It was like without warning." I'm like, no, it was probably a lot. It was probably an aggregate of shit that you've been doing over the last year. And really, I think Myron said something similar, like, "Oh, we didn't get a warning or anything like that." I'm like, did you or didn't you?
That's what I wanted.
I don't know who to believe. So, but the thing is like either way,
they definitely did. And how do you tell these people that you were like going against community guidelines and it's not necessarily your freedom of speech? I don't know. It's a little bit of when you are online too long, you just assume that it's other things. Sorry, my dog is right here trying to go outside. But
when you're online too long, you tend to think you're untouchable.
Yeah.
So like I've never thought I was untouchable because I have people keep me in my ass in check all the time. But like I would not. I don't want to bring up the details. I don't want you to get a strike either. But like we know who they've been hanging out with and who they've been sort of like who they've invited into their house. Let's just say for the last like year and
a lot of people hate those people.
Well, they do, but they're also, you got to remember that the election cycle starts 18 months before the actual election. So everything that's been going on up to this point, I made this prediction back last year on our year-end show on Rule Zero that by August of 2023, you will not recognize the manosphere. And if anything, I was too late in that. It was really more like June or July when everything went to hell. But right now, the manosphere is not what it was in 2022. I can tell you that just a year ago.
Yeah.
And I said that, the reason I said that is because this happens every election cycle, because same thing happened in 2016, same thing happened in 2020, and you bet your sweet ass it's going to happen in 2024. But what people don't need to, and I try to warn people, I try to say, look, you guys remember, there's going to be people who are like all about the red pill right now, who are going to completely throw it under the bus for the culture war narrative or something political. And they're doing that because if they don't, they'll get demonetized. They'll lose their channel. Moderately big channels are getting demonetized. And that's basically what they're doing is they're just cutting off your oxygen. They want you to go over to Rumble. They want you to go over to wherever, go away. And we're going to start talking about free speech. Well, guess what? We have farmed our exercise of free speech. We have farmed out to private companies now.
Oh yeah,
and that's so you can still go and shout in the out in the courtyard if you want.
You just won't get paid.
You won't get paid for it, and you're only going to be limited to the 10 people that happen to be there. If you want to actually have conversations and do anything significant, you cannot exercise your right to free speech as well on YouTube as you can just going out into the middle of the street and screaming out whatever your political happening.
I'm the Messiah.
Yes.
Okay, Rollo, this was really good. I feel like we touched on stuff that you don't normally talk about in interviews, but Leykis about to like destroy all my equipment. She has to go
I feel you. Well, I tell you, the other thing you want to know that's really shocking right now, there's a civil war going on between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens as well.
Really?
Not just like, picked a, simply because and by the way, I don't know if you know who Vox Day is. Vox Day was right about Ben Shapiro. Vox Day 2013 was right about Ben Shapiro 2023.
I gotta
go look it. Just go look it up. I swear to God, look at Vox Day, Ben Shapiro. They have a history together, by the way. But,
I believe you.
Yeah, he was 100% right. And now Candace Owens is she's really super ultra conservative evangelical Christian. And then you've got Ben Shapiro, who is like a practicing Orthodox Hasidic Jew, right? You got those two, and now they're at each other's throat. Now they're I guess Candace must be fired now. I don't know. But there's definitely a civil war going on at Daily Wire. And I'll tell you, I'm here. I'm give me the popcorn, man.
I want to go.
Let's go. Let them fight.
Oh my God. Will you send me videos? I want to see this shit.
It's all over Twitter.
Where to start. Can you unblock
I'll send you some. I'll send you some links.
Unblock me from Twitter. Yeah, I'm starting to use it now.
I don't know if I did. All right, I'll get you. But I'll send you some links.
Okay, Rollo. Thank you.
You got it.
Bye.
Bye.